Hey Saberists, Kevin Tor with another tutorial, this one covering some basic strikes as well as some combining of the previous skills we've gone over. Let's start with some basic thrusts to center line, sternum, throat or head, and down to the groin. Important to note, unlike specific blade types, we're actually going to be pivoting our hands so that we're either knuckles up or knuckles down for the most part, which is not necessarily true of actual blade work. Now with our overhead strikes, we want to make sure we're keeping our elbows in, and we're twisting our hands like we're wringing out a towel, basically, wringing water out of it, making sure that we have the pommel high enough we can see underneath it clearly. And we have our diagonal cuts, 45 degrees from shoulder to hip, and we're pivoting even just a little bit, sometimes a lot, depending on how much time we want to cover with that strike, just to add speed and power to it. And our horizontal cuts, so coming across shoulder to shoulder. And bear in mind, since we're talking about saber, really don't need to use all these big wind-ups. This is really for the purpose of stage combat. And then we have our upward diagonal cuts, so from hip to shoulder. And again, we're pivoting slightly, turning into the cut, giving it that added speed and motion. For those of you who maybe don't want to have your arms twisted up when you're cutting from your offhand side, you can just rest your backhand on your lead hand. And last we have our groin cut, so that's a vertical cutting up through groin to head. And then we can talk about just combining some things, going to roof guard, and our diagonal cuts, our lapel cut, or the thrust, and those can be done either way. So it's nice to kind of be aware that one position, one guard has multiple options. You could arguably say this is prep or a chamber, not just a protective stance. We can flow offense to offense, so groin to head, for example, or cutting across in the stomach cut, ripping upward in the diagonal, or you could argue that's a parry. There's a lot of variations and different options of how you can apply this. Deflecting, down cutting, and then thrust. There's some other options. Just giving you an idea of just kind of the relaxed way of just flowing position to position, being aware of your options and knowing what you're going to be able to do. Happy training, have a good time.